When a black hotel maid casually answered a phone call in perfect Dutch, the billionaire, standing nearby, froze mid-step. His expression shifted from surprise to fascination. The next morning, he demanded to meet her personally. No one at the hotel understood why, until secrets began to unfold that would change her life forever. Stay tuned, because what happens next will leave you speechless. Subscribe to see the full story. The Royal Crest Hotel was a palace for the rich, chandeliers, marble floors, and a scent of luxury in the air. But for Zoe Daniels, it was a battlefield of invisible struggles. Her world existed beneath the shine, scrubbing tiles, folding sheets, and being unseen. Every day she reminded herself, just work hard, stay quiet, and survive. Zoe wasn't like most of the staff. She'd come from a small Caribbean island with dreams bigger than the ocean she crossed. Back home, she'd studied languages, English, Dutch, Spanish, and had even dreamed of becoming a translator. But dreams didn't pay bills. So when her mother fell ill, Zoe traded her notebooks for a maid's uniform. That morning, the hotel lobby shimmered in the early light. The sound of heels clicking echoed against the marble. Guests arrived with glittering smiles and heavy wallets. Zoe pushed her cleaning cart through the corridor, head down, focused on the rhythm of work. Wipe, dust, polish, repeat. Then her phone buzzed. Once, twice. She froze. The rules were clear. No personal calls during duty. Manager Collins had drilled it into everyone. One mistake and you're out. But something about the call felt urgent. Her gut twisted as the phone kept vibrating. With one last glance to make sure no one was watching, Zoe answered quietly. Goedemorgen, hoe gaat het met u? Good morning, how are you? Her voice flowed with calm fluency, natural, confident. But the sound of Dutch in the middle of that luxury lobby made heads turn. Standing near the reception desk was Elias Vander, a billionaire from Amsterdam. Known for his steel-cold demeanor and ruthless business mind, he'd been finalizing a real estate deal that morning. But when he heard that voice, his language spoken so effortlessly by a maid, he froze mid-step. His assistant paused too. Vander's gaze followed Zoe as she turned away, cheeks flushed. There was something different about her, something that didn't fit the uniform. The moment hung in the air for several seconds. Then, as if the universe wanted to remind Zoe of her place, Manager Collins' voice cut through the silence. Zoe, did you just answer your phone? Zoe stiffened. I'm sorry, sir. I don't want to hear it. You know the rules. Hand it over. Now. She bit her lip and placed the phone in his palm. The lobby seemed to shrink around her as people stared. Vander watched quietly, expression unreadable. Collins continued, Finish your shift! We'll discuss your behavior later. Zoe nodded, swallowing her embarrassment. She went back to scrubbing the floor, pretending not to notice the billionaire still watching her. A few minutes later, he whispered something to his assistant and left the lobby. Zoe exhaled, thinking it was over. But by evening, rumors began to ripple through the staff lounge. Did you hear? Whispered Rosa from the front desk. Mr. Vander asked about you. Zoe blinked. What? Why? Rosa shrugged. He said, who's the maid who speaks Dutch? Zoe laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. He was probably just surprised, but deep down, something stirred, a flicker of curiosity, a fragile hope she hadn't felt in years. When she walked home that night, city lights reflected off wet streets like shattered stars. Her thoughts replayed the moment again and again, the look in his eyes, the tension, the quiet after her voice broke the silence. She didn't know it yet, but that single phone call had started a chain reaction, one that would test her strength, reveal her truth, and forever change the way she saw herself. The next morning, Zoe arrived at the Royal Crest Hotel earlier than usual. Her feet clicked softly on the polished marble as she carried her cleaning supplies through the lobby. The sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, painting golden stripes across the tiles. She tried to focus on her routine, but her mind kept replaying the previous day's moment, the billionaire's gaze, the way he had stopped mid-step when he heard her speak Dutch. She had thought she was invisible, yet for the first time, someone had truly seen her. Her heart skipped when she reached the reception desk. Zoe Daniels? The head receptionist asked, her tone unusually formal. Yes, Zoe replied cautiously. Mr. Vander would like to see you. Now, please follow me. Zoe froze. See me? Why? Her palms went sweaty as she followed the assistant through the hotel corridors she had walked 1,000 times. Only this time, every floor, every door seemed different. Charged with tension, the elevator ride was painfully slow. Numbers clicked upward, but Zoe's mind was racing. Did I do something wrong? Did they plan to fire me? Every worst-case scenario collided in her head. She tried to steady her breath. She had faced tough guests, grumpy managers, endless long shifts, but this was unknown territory. When the doors opened, a giant office stretched before her. High ceilings, sleek furniture, and a panoramic view of the city skyline. The kind of office that made ordinary people feel small, and there he was, Elias Vander, standing by a large desk, arms crossed, eyes fixed on her. But there was no anger in his gaze, only curiosity, almost admiration. Zoe Daniels, he said, his voice calm but commanding. I heard something yesterday that caught my attention. I need to understand it firsthand. Zoe swallowed. I don't know what you mean, sir. You're Dutch, he said simply. Flawless. Native-level pronunciation. Very few people can achieve that outside the Netherlands. He paused, letting his words hang. And yet, you've been cleaning floors here for how long? 2 years, Zoe admitted quietly, lowering her eyes. And you speak several other languages fluently as well? He continued, scanning a folder on his desk. Dutch, French, Mandarin, correct? Zoe nodded, unsure if she should say more. Pride and fear warred inside her. Why is he asking me this? What does he want? Vander leaned forward slightly. I've spent my career recognizing talent, Zoe, and I've learned that sometimes the most extraordinary people are invisible, hidden behind jobs they didn't choose or systems that failed them. Tell me, why are you here cleaning instead of using these skills? The question hit her like a shockwave. She had rehearsed answers in her head countless times, but none felt right. Finally, she whispered, I applied for positions inside the hotel, tried for promotions. Nothing worked. Requests ignored. Emails unanswered. I just kept working, trying to survive while waiting for the right chance. Vander nodded slowly. I see. And yet, here you are, speaking Dutch perfectly in front of me, when most people wouldn't even dare. Zoe shifted nervously. The weight of his attention was overwhelming, yet for the first time, it didn't feel threatening. I want you to come to my office tomorrow morning, he said, closing the folder. There's a project that requires someone who can navigate languages, culture, and nuance with precision. I believe you might be exactly what we need. Zoe blinked. Her stomach twisted. A project? Me? Fear and hope tangled inside her. This could be a trap. Or the opportunity she had been waiting for. She nodded, trying to steady her voice. I'll be there, sir. As she left the office, the city lights reflecting off the marble floors seemed brighter than ever. For the first time, Zoe felt a spark of possibility, a fragile thread that maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change forever, and she didn't yet know that the next 24 hours would push her courage, her intelligence, and her dreams to the limit, testing whether the invisible could finally step into the spotlight. The next morning, Zoe arrived at the hotel earlier than ever. Her hands were clammy, but her heart thrummed with a strange mixture of fear and anticipation. Today wasn't about mops or marble floors. Today was about her. She was led to a small conference room she had never noticed before. On the sleek table lay folders, papers, and a tablet displaying complex schedules for international clients. At the head of the table sat Elias Vander, his expression unreadable, eyes scanning her like a puzzle he was eager to solve. "Good morning, Zoe," he said. "I'll be direct. I need someone for an international conference tomorrow. Multilingual, culturally aware, precise. You spoke Dutch yesterday. I want to see the rest of your abilities." Zoe swallowed hard. Her mind raced. This is it, one chance, one moment. Vander handed her a folder. Inside were documents, emails, and translation notes for a high-profile event involving Dutch, Mandarin, and French-speaking executives. Correct these errors. Prepare a short briefing in each language. I want to know you can handle the pressure. You have 3 hours. 3 hours. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the folder. Errors jumped out immediately. Subtle mistakes in Mandarin phrasing that could cause diplomatic embarrassment, misused idioms in Dutch, formatting mistakes in French. Every document screamed incompetence from someone who didn't understand the nuances. Zoe's fingers flew over the tablet, her mind moving faster than her hands. She corrected terminology, adjusted phrasing, and added culturally sensitive notes. She rewrote greetings, translated key points accurately, and even suggested small, thoughtful changes to show cultural respect. All the while, Vander observed silently, leaning back in his chair, arms folded. He didn't speak, but Zoe could feel the weight of his scrutiny. It was as though the room itself had shrunk around her, the marble walls echoing the ticking of a clock only she could hear. Minutes stretched. Sweat formed at her temples. Her chest tightened. But she refused to falter. Every skill she had learned in years of study, every language mastered in secret, every ounce of patience and perseverance, it all mattered now. Finally, 3 hours later, she placed the completed folder on the table. Vander looked through it methodically, his eyebrows slowly rising. He flipped through her notes in Mandarin, paused at the Dutch briefing, glanced at the French section. "Impressive," he said simply, leaning back. "You've corrected errors that could have cost us thousands, maybe millions, in contracts and reputation. You anticipate cultural nuance, understand protocol, and you do it calmly under pressure." Zoe's heart leapt. Relief mingled with disbelief. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, trying to sound steady. Vander closed the folder, leaning forward. "Zoe, you've been invisible in this hotel for years, cleaning floors, mopping rooms, following rules. But talent like yours doesn't stay hidden forever. Starting tomorrow, I want you in the main conference room, with full access, handling these translations and managing the international attendees. Your role will be temporary for now, but your potential is undeniable." Zoe blinked. Her throat tightened. I don't know what to say. I've dreamed of this, but—" "No buts," Vander interrupted gently. "You've earned this. Show me what you're capable of." As she walked out of the office, Zoe felt the weight of the hotel shift beneath her. For the first time, she wasn't just cleaning. She was part of something bigger, something that could finally change the trajectory of her life. She didn't yet know that this first test would spark a chain of events that exposed not just her own brilliance, but a system of overlooked talent, bias, and hidden opportunity, and that she was about to become the center of a story no one in the hotel would forget. The morning of the conference arrived with an electric tension. The Royal Crest Hotel lobby buzzed with the chatter of international executives, their tailored suits brushing past polished floors, their briefcases heavy with deals worth millions. For most of the staff, it was another routine day. For Zoe Daniels, it was the stage she had been waiting for her entire life. Dressed in a sharp blazer borrowed from Vander's office, one size too large but perfect for her newfound confidence, she walked through the grand lobby. Every step echoed determination, every glance measured, poised. She wasn't just a maid anymore. She was a linguist, a problem solver, a bridge between worlds. Inside the main conference room, she was greeted by a sea of unfamiliar faces, Dutch businessmen, Chinese executives, and a few high-ranking hotel managers who had long overlooked her potential. Some glanced at her skeptically. Others barely noticed. But Zoe didn't flinch. Vander stood at the front, whispering a few instructions. "Zoe," he said quietly, "just do what you do best. Watch, listen, and guide the conversation where it needs to go." The meeting began, and immediately problems arose. The initial translations for the Mandarin-speaking clients were awkward, some phrases even culturally insensitive. Missteps like these could sour negotiations in minutes. Zoe noticed instantly. Without hesitation, she intervened, politely correcting terms, adjusting sentences to convey respect and precision, translating subtle nuances on the fly. The Dutch executives leaned forward, impressed. She switched effortlessly between languages, her tone confident, clear, authoritative. By the time Vander discreetly handed her the notes for French dialogue, she had already smoothed potential misunderstandings, earning nods of approval from delegates who had no idea she had been cleaning these floors just days before. Her colleagues in management whispered among themselves. Some were shocked, some were embarrassed. Most were completely silent. They had never seen her like this. For 6 years they had overlooked her, and now she was indispensable, the linchpin holding this high-stakes meeting together. As the session progressed, Zoe found herself mediating delicate discussions, clarifying cultural misunderstandings, and building bridges between business people who had assumed they were speaking perfectly. Every correct translation, every careful word choice, earned quiet but unmistakable respect. During a short break, one of the Chinese executives approached her. You corrected our translation? How did you know? He asked, impressed. Zoe smiled politely. Languages carry more than words. They carry culture. You can't just translate. You have to understand the people behind them. The man nodded slowly, a glimmer of admiration in his eyes. Vander watched from the corner, a satisfied expression spreading across his face. Zoe could feel it. He knew exactly what he had discovered in her. Talent, unseen, underestimated, but explosive when finally unleashed. By the end of the day, contracts had been refined, deals secured, and relationships strengthened, all under Zoe's guidance. Her name was whispered in awe by delegates. Managers who had once dismissed her were left speechless, caught between disbelief and reluctant admiration. Later, as she returned to her office, Vander called her over. "Zoe," he said, "today proved what I suspected. You're not here by chance. You've been invisible far too long, but not anymore. I want to offer you a permanent position coordinating international relations for our conferences. Your skills deserve a stage, not a mop." Zoe's heart raced. She finally realized the truth she had always known, but had doubted. Her potential had never been invisible to the world. It was invisible only to those too small-minded to see it. Walking back through the lobby, Zoe noticed some of her old colleagues staring. Some faces were pale. Some tried to hide their shame. And some, the ones who had always believed in her, smiled quietly, knowing justice was finally being recognized. That night, Zoe returned to her small apartment, exhausted but exhilarated. She stared at the city skyline from her window, heart swelling with pride and possibility. She didn't yet know how much this moment would ripple through the hotel, and how many hidden talents she would soon help uncover. The first taste of recognition was intoxicating, but Zoe understood something important. This was just the beginning. The following morning, Zoe arrived at the Royal Crest Hotel with a sense of purpose that felt heavier than any cleaning cart she had ever pushed. She no longer feared being overlooked. Today she would confront the shadows that had kept her invisible for years. Her first stop was the administrative office. Files, emails, and internal memos lay in stacks on the manager's desk. She had spent the past 24 hours combing through records Vander had discreetly given her access to, uncovering a pattern that was both predictable and devastating. Promotions denied, emails ignored, resumes overlooked, all pointing to systematic discrimination against staff members with talent and education, especially women of color. Zoe's hands trembled as she reviewed the names. These weren't just mistakes. They were deliberate, calculated blocks. For years, the hotel had hidden extraordinary talent behind uniforms and floors, while the same managers handed opportunities to underqualified candidates with personal connections. She couldn't let it continue. Not anymore. Taking a deep breath, she walked straight to Vander's office. "Sir, I found something," she said, sliding a thick folder across the desk. Vander opened it, scanning the pages with his sharp eyes. Every denied promotion, every ignored application, every inflated contract. "It's all here," Zoe explained. "And it's not random. Patterns repeat. Talented, qualified employees were blocked systematically. Those who lacked connections were invisible. Those who spoke up were punished." Vander's jaw tightened. "I suspected something," he said quietly. "But this is worse than I imagined," Zoe nodded. "There's more. Some translation contracts were outsourced to family members of certain managers. Expensive, inaccurate, culturally insensitive. If the errors had gone unnoticed, it could have cost the hotel millions and damaged international relationships." He looked at her, a mix of admiration and anger crossing his features. "And yet you fixed it all yesterday, single-handedly." "Yes," Zoe said softly, a quiet fire in her chest. "I couldn't stand by anymore. We have talent wasting away in cleaning, in reception, in admin. All because of bias and nepotism. Vander leaned back. You've done more than just prove your worth. You've uncovered a problem that could change this hotel forever. Are you ready for what comes next? Zoe squared her shoulders. I am. Whatever it takes. The day that followed was tense. Vander called an emergency meeting with every department head. Zoe presented her findings, clear, concise, backed with evidence. She walked the room through patterns of bias, demonstrating how talented employees were systematically overlooked, while managers' family connections reaped benefits. There were gasps. Some managers turned pale. Others shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Vander stood behind her, silent support giving her strength. Zoe felt no fear now, only resolve. Moving forward, Vander announced, we will implement immediate changes. Full review of promotions, reassignments where necessary, and oversight to ensure fairness and transparency. Zoe Daniels has brought this to light, and her work will ensure we never let talent go unnoticed again. Whispers erupted across the room. Some tried to justify past actions. Others nodded silently, ashamed. Zoe maintained her composure. She didn't need them to understand her. She only needed the truth to be seen. For the first time, she felt the weight of justice in her hands. This wasn't just about her. This was about every employee who had been dismissed, ignored, or undervalued. For the first time, Zoe realized that her rise wasn't just personal triumph, it was a ripple that would elevate countless others. By evening, the hotel felt different. Not in its opulent halls or sparkling marble floors, but in its air, lighter, more honest. Zoe returned to her office, exhausted, but her heart swelled with purpose. She understood now. Success was more than recognition. It was about uncovering truth, demanding fairness, and giving voice to the invisible. And for Zoe Daniels, the invisible maid who spoke Dutch in the lobby, the reckoning had only just begun. The following week, the grand ballroom of the Royal Crest Hotel buzzed with a mixture of tension and anticipation. Executives, managers, and staff members who had once dismissed Zoe as just another cleaning lady gathered for a meeting that would change the hotel forever. At the front, Elias Vander stood proudly, Zoe at his side. Her blazer fit perfectly now, her badge gleaming, and her posture radiating authority. She was no longer invisible. She was the bridge between talent and opportunity, the voice of the overlooked, and the living proof that perseverance and skill could not remain hidden forever. Vander gestured to the audience. Today we are not just recognizing an employee. We are correcting decades of oversight and prejudice. Thanks to Zoe Daniels, we have discovered systemic bias, nepotism, and inefficiency, and we will change it. Zoe stepped forward. Her voice, calm but unwavering, carried through the room. For years, extraordinary talent has been ignored. Staff with degrees, experience, and skills have been overlooked because of personal biases and outdated assumptions. This ends today. She revealed the data she had compiled: promotions denied, applications ignored, and contracts awarded unfairly. Graphs and charts illustrated the cost of discrimination, wasted resources, lost opportunities, and unfulfilled potential. Every manager who had doubted her stared at the evidence, pale and speechless. But this isn't just about punishment, Zoe continued. It's about transformation. We're launching the Invisible Talent Initiative, a program designed to identify, support, and promote qualified employees who have been overlooked. Mentorship, training, and fair evaluations will ensure that talent is recognized regardless of background or position. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some managers shifted nervously, realizing their misjudgments had been exposed. Others, particularly the staff who had quietly supported her, smiled in relief and hope. Vander nodded, letting Zoe take the spotlight. Zoe Daniels has not only saved this hotel from potential international mishaps, but has also uncovered a truth we could no longer ignore. Effective immediately, she will serve as our Global Director of Multilingual Operations and Diversity Initiatives. Her role is to ensure that talent is never again invisible. Applause erupted, echoing through the opulent hall. Zoe's former colleagues, those who had doubted her abilities, watched as the cleaning lady they had ignored became one of the most powerful voices in the company. That evening, Zoe returned to her office for the first time, not as a maid, not as someone overlooked, but as a leader. She stared out over the city skyline, the lights reflecting in her eyes. The journey had been long, 6 years of cleaning, studying, applying, and being ignored. But every moment had led her to this pinnacle. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Professor Van Hutton in Amsterdam. "Congratulations, Zoe. Your perseverance and talent have always been clear. Excited to collaborate in the future," Zoe smiled. From the lobby floor to global leadership, her life had transformed. But more importantly, she had opened doors for others, colleagues whose potential had been buried, voices that had been silenced. She picked up a framed photo from her desk, her mother, who had always told her, "No matter how small they make you feel, your worth is never invisible," Zoe whispered softly, tears of joy streaming down her face. "We made it, Mom, we made it." From that day on, Zoe Daniels became more than a story. She became a symbol of perseverance, talent, justice, and the quiet power of those who refused to remain unseen, and the message to everyone watching, listening, or working quietly behind the scenes was clear. Your time will come. Your talent will be recognized, and no one can keep your worth hidden forever. Zoe's journey proves that hidden talent can't stay buried forever. But how many more incredible stories like hers are still waiting to be discovered? If this inspired you, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us as we uncover more unbelievable true stories of courage, determination, and triumph that will leave you speechless.